You believe you understand respect. You are wrong. Every day you pay a hidden tax, a silent erosion of your status, your time, your very self-worth. This isn't about earning respect. It's about controlling the invisible signals you broadcast, signals that are currently being weaponized against you. This revelation will make it impossible to view reality the same way again. Most people never notice this, but your perceived vulnerability is an open invitation to disrespect. This invisible tax drains you silently. It chips away at your confidence. It costs you opportunities you never even knew existed. You are constantly broadcasting signals. Signals of strength, yes, but also signals of weakness. It is these unseen weaknesses that others exploit. They do not even realize they are doing it. They just perceive an opening. You might think weakness is simply a disadvantage, a deficit. But here is the truth that most people are too afraid to see. History proves this. Perceived weakness is not just a disadvantage. It is a tactical weapon, used against you without your consent. Consider what happened when an entire army, armed and armored, faced a shepherd boy wielding only a sling. This is not a fable. This is a brutal truth recorded in ancient texts. Goliath was a giant. He wore heavy armor. He expected a warrior, a close-quarters battle. What he saw was a small boy, unarmed by conventional standards, seemingly vulnerable. Goliath saw weakness. He saw an easy victory, but David saw a strategic advantage. He knew Goliath's immense size was a liability. His armor made him slow. His strength was useless at range. David did not fight Goliath's game. He used his perceived weakness, his small stature, his agility to exploit Goliath's massive blind spots. He struck a fatal blow before the giant could even engage him. Goliath's perception of David's weakness became the weapon that destroyed him. This isn't just an old story. It is a blueprint. Your perceived vulnerability is an open invitation. It gives others permission to ignore your boundaries, to take your time, to diminish your worth. They just see the opening. This invisible tax is real. You've been paying it for too long. It's time to understand the hidden language of disrespect. It's time to take control, because the world is watching, and it is calculating your worth based on the signals you broadcast, not on who you truly are. Stop and realize what this actually means for your future. This is just the beginning of what they don't want you to see. The invisible tax you pay for unseen weakness quickly becomes visible. It manifests in every single interaction you have, every handshake, every conversation, every shared space. These are not neutral exchanges. They are silent negotiations. Each moment, you are broadcasting your perceived value without uttering a single word. Your hesitations, your unnecessary apologies, the boundaries you fail to define. These are not just quirks. They are clear signals. They are broadcasts into the social ether. Do you believe these signals go unnoticed? They do not. Others are receiving them. They are interpreting them. This brings us to a fundamental truth, a secret most people never perceive. Others unconsciously calibrate their respect for you. They don't analyze your resume. They don't weigh your intentions. They simply react to your demonstrated self-valuation. This is the brutal mechanism known as the law of reciprocal calibration. If you do not implicitly value yourself, others will not either. This is not a judgment, it is a mirror. What you project, you receive. What you tolerate, you invite. When do you truly begin to lose respect for someone? Is it a single, grand betrayal, or a slow erosion built on 1,000 tiny concessions? These unchallenged slights, these small daily concessions, they do not simply vanish into thin air. They compound, they accumulate, they become the bedrock of how others perceive and treat you. They forge the very operating system for your interactions. This creates an echo chamber. Your actions are the initial sound. The world's reaction is the reverberation. It returns to you amplified. It reinforces the initial broadcast. Do you truly understand the gravity of this? Every single interaction, no matter how minor, is either fortifying your position or chipping away at it. It is either building a fortress of respect or a crumbling facade. The default operating system for your life is being written right now by you. Are you dictating its terms, or are you passively accepting the code others write for you? Worried? This compounding effect is insidious, and it is precisely this default operating system that the masters of manipulation understand. They don't just notice your concessions, They actively exploit them. They transform your silent negotiations into a weapon against you. The next law reveals how your innate desire for harmony can become the very gift that destroys you. But here is where the trap is set. Disrespect often arrives disguised as something else entirely. It doesn't always show its true face. It approaches you like a friend, a helper, a solution, a seemingly harmless nice gift, a false retreat from conflict, a sudden, unexpected concession. These are not acts of goodwill. Do not confuse them. These are strategic ploys. They are designed to exploit your relief, to capitalize on your sudden complacency, to lower your guard just when you need it most. This is the moment when vigilance is abandoned. This is when the true damage begins. The record shows a brutal truth. The most devastating attacks are often welcomed inside the gates. They are invited in by those who believe they have won. Consider what happened to the city of Troy. For a decade, an impregnable fortress. For 10 long years, the Greeks laid siege. They could not break through. Then, a feigned retreat. A sudden, unexpected withdrawal. And left behind a giant wooden horse, an apparent offering, a symbol of surrender, of peace, of victory. The Trojans, exhausted by war, believed their enemies had given up. They brought the horse inside their mighty, impenetrable city walls. They celebrated their deliverance. They allowed complacency to flood their senses. But concealed within that gift were Greek soldiers. They emerged under the cover of night. They opened the city gates. The waiting Greek army poured in. Troy fell, conquered from within, by a foe it had welcomed. This is the danger of accepting perceived solutions without critical scrutiny. This is the price of letting down your guard too soon. Are you letting a Trojan horse into your life? Is there a gift you've accepted that is slowly undermining your position? A sudden ease, a false peace, that actually conceals a hidden agenda? Pay close attention to what happens next. Because this silent undermining is a slow poison. It erodes your boundaries. It diminishes your influence. It takes what is rightfully yours. One subtle concession at a time. Most people never notice this until it is far too late. They are too busy celebrating a victory that never truly happened. Determined, let me show you how this is being used against you right now. Disrespect rarely announces itself with a declaration. It never sends a warning. It does not crash through your door with a grand pronouncement. Instead, it is a gradual erosion, 1,000 tiny cuts. Consider the subtle dismissal of your ideas, the casual interruption when you speak, the implied lesser status projected onto you during conversations, the way your input is consistently overlooked or attributed to someone else. These are not accidental occurrences. They are the insidious microaggressions. They chip away at your perceived authority. Your very presence begins to lose its weight. The psychological cost of this constant barrage is immense. You begin to allow your value to be defined by others' casual dismissals. You become complicit in your own diminishment. You internalize the message that you are not worth listening to. Is this truly the narrative you wish to accept for yourself? Is this the standard you will tolerate? This is the tax you cannot see. Yet, you are paying it every single day. You pay it with your confidence. You pay it with your conviction. You pay it in the quiet moments where you doubt your own voice. Notice the shift in your own energy, in your own conviction, how quickly your certainty falters, how readily you defer. Have you felt this draining effect? This quiet siphoning of your power, this silent undermining is a slow poison. Determined, you must recognize its symptoms now, before it hollows out your resolve completely. You are being subtly trained to accept less, to expect less, to be less, and the world will then reflect that diminished self back to you. You cannot afford to ignore this erosion any longer. Your future depends on seeing what is truly happening. Now this next law is what separates the masters from the victims. It reveals the profound difference between genuine weakness and feigned vulnerability. One invites utter destruction. The other, a calculated opportunity. Most people never notice this distinction. They see retreat. They immediately assume defeat. This crucial truth remains invisible to those who aren't looking for the deeper game. But here is where the trap is meticulously set. The most dangerous moves in any conflict are often cunningly disguised as surrender. To appear to concede ground can be the ultimate bait, drawing your adversary into a position of irreversible vulnerability. Do you truly grasp the immense power held within that deception? History proves this. Again and again, masters of strategy consistently use apparent vulnerability to draw an adversary into a decisive, inescapable trap. They exploit overconfidence as a primary weapon. They turn the enemy's own hubris against them. Consider what happened to Napoleon at Austerlitz in December 1805. He faced a numerically superior, confident alliance of Russian and Austrian armies. What was his move? He deliberately pulled back his forces across the Pratzen Heights. He feigned a desperate desire for peace, even sending envoys to negotiate, signaling perceived desperation. Crucially, he made his right flank appear exposed, a gaping, undefended wound, inviting a decisive attack, a clear, undeniable sign of weakness. The Allied commanders, observing this retreat and these concessions, believed Napoleon was broken. They perceived him as desperate, on the verge of collapse. This perception convinced them to overextend their forces. They rushed forward, abandoning their strong defensive positions, attempting to envelop his supposedly retreating army. They were blinded by their own hubris, by the intoxicating scent of an easy victory. Determined, then, the moment arrived. Napoleon unleashed hidden reserves. Entire corps of seasoned soldiers, concealed from view, burst forth from their hidden positions. His retreat was a calculated lure. His weakness was a perfectly sharpened blade. It resulted in a decisive, crushing victory, one of his greatest triumphs, securing his legacy as a military genius. The enemy's perception of his retreat became their complete undoing. This is not about genuinely being weak. It is about weaponizing the idea of weakness. It is about allowing your opponent to write their own catastrophic ending, based on the false narrative you skillfully present. Your adversary's overconfidence, fueled by your apparent vulnerability, becomes their fatal flaw. Determined, pay close attention to what happens next. The enemy's perception of your retreat becomes their undoing. This is how you manipulate the battlefield of perception. This is how you dominate without ever truly confronting. This is the quiet power of strategic retreat. And this brings us to a secret even more dangerous. Your perception is not entirely your own. This is not a comfortable truth. Most people believe they control how others see them. They are fundamentally wrong. Your environment is an unseen architect of your standing. The narratives constantly spun around you are powerful, often insidious. Unspoken expectations dictate more than you realize. These forces relentlessly shape how you are viewed. They precondition the very level of respect you receive. Are you truly authoring your own story, or are you unwittingly allowing others to write it for you, dictating your worth before you even speak? This isn't some grand, shadowy conspiracy. It is simply how human psychology operates at its most primal level. We are creatures of context. We seek cues from our surroundings. We follow established patterns, often without conscious thought. Your mind is constantly processing these signals. It builds a subconscious framework for how others interact with you. This framework determines their default setting for your value. Consider the subtle cues that permeate every interaction. The office gossip about a new hire, the family history whispered behind closed doors, the general sentiment of your social circle towards a particular type of person. These are not isolated incidents. They are bricks in the wall of your public persona. Each one contributes to the foundation of how you are perceived, solidifying your position long before you open your mouth. The hidden power dynamics dictate who gets to define reality. If you are not actively shaping your own narrative, someone else is. They are carving out your role. They are setting the stage for your interactions. They are deciding your default level of deference, your inherent authority, or lack thereof. This process is happening whether you are acutely aware of it or not. Determined, think about the profound implications. Every interaction you have begins with a preloaded script. A script written not by you, but by external forces. By the collective unconscious, contemptuous, by those who benefit from keeping you in a specific, predictable role. You are either actively setting the pattern or you are passively reacting to it. There is no neutral ground. There is only the choice you make right now. This is the invisible hand that molds your interactions. It decides who listens intently to your counsel. It decides who dismisses your words as mere background noise. It determines who grants you immediate authority and who instinctively sees you as inconsequential. Are you actively seizing control of this narrative, bending it to your will, or are you passively accepting the one handed to you, thereby surrendering your power? The stakes are immense. Your influence, your opportunities, your very standing in the world are on the line. Most people never notice this unseen architect at work. They wonder why they are consistently overlooked. They question why their words often lack weight. They fail to see the fundamental truth. This truth is invisible to those who aren't looking, but you are looking now, and for you, it makes it impossible to view reality the same way again. You've learned how perception is sculpted, how reality itself can be bent to another's will. Now prepare for the ultimate inversion of that power. Here is the truth that most people are too afraid to see. Your greatest perceived weakness can be your most potent weapon. Think about it. When you are numerically or conventionally outmatched, what becomes your greatest vulnerability? Predictability. It makes you an easy target. But what if you could weaponize that very perception of vulnerability? Your salvation lies in the unconventional, in the unexpected. The goal is not to match strength. It is to create an illusion so profound that your opponent's own mind turns against them. You don't need to be stronger, you just need to make them believe you are. Or, more dangerously, make them believe in a threat that isn't even there. History proves this. The record shows a brutal truth about extreme numerical weakness. When combined with clever psychological tactics, it can lead directly to the enemy's self-destruction. Consider what happened with Gideon's army of 300. Gideon faced a vast Midianite force. Scared, an oppressor army so immense his own people were terrified. Yet, under divine instruction, Gideon's army was drastically reduced, from 32,000 to just 300 men. They were made to seem incredibly vulnerable, a perceived weakness beyond measure. Determined, but Gideon's small band did not charge head-on. They surrounded the Midianite camp at night. Each man carried a trumpet and a torch hidden in a jar. At Gideon's signal, they shattered the jars, revealing the flames, blew their trumpets, and shouted. The noise, the sudden flash of hundreds of lights in the darkness, created the illusion of an overwhelming massive army attacking from all sides. The Midianites panicked, gasping. In their terror and confusion, they turned their swords on each other, defeating themselves. This was not a battle of brute force. This was a psychological ambush. It was about making your enemy defeat themselves. This is the raw power of illusion. It bypasses strength. It bypasses numbers. It turns the enemy's own fear into their undoing. And you, watching this right now, are already ahead of the 99% who scrolled past. You see the invisible architecture of power. You understand that true mastery often lies in making your enemy fight ghosts. Stop and realize what this actually means for your future. Your perceived value in any interaction, in any relationship, is an unspoken contract. It is not written down. It is not verbally agreed upon. Yet, it dictates everything. Others implicitly agree to this contract, or they reject it, based entirely on the signals you send. What are these signals? They are your actions. They are your reactions. They are the boundaries you enforce or fail to enforce. This contract is being negotiated every single day, whether you are aware of it or not. Consider this. When you allow small breaches of this unspoken agreement to slide, what message do you send? When you permit others to disregard your time, to undervalue your contributions, to speak to you with casual dismissiveness, you are actively renegotiating your worth downwards. You are essentially signing off on a new, lower valuation. This isn't just about isolated incidents. These small breaches accumulate. They compound, failing to enforce your worth. Allowing these infractions to become habitual leads to a default state of disrespect. It becomes the new normal, resigned, and once that foundation is set, it is incredibly difficult to dismantle. This is not a problem that fixes itself. This is why self-respect is not merely a feeling. It is not some abstract internal state you conjure. Determined. Self-respect is a consistent demonstration of boundaries. It is a refusal to allow your value to be negotiated by external forces. It is the unwavering commitment to uphold the terms of your own unspoken contract, regardless of how others might test it. Do you understand the profound difference? Feeling self-respect is passive. Demonstrating it is active. It is a power you wield, not a sentiment you hope to cultivate. This is the architecture of your reputation. You are building it every single moment. Every interaction is a brick. Every boundary you hold, every boundary you let crumble, contributes to this structure. Are you constructing it with intention, piece by deliberate piece, defining its strength and its limits? Or is it being built for you, brick by painful brick, by the casual disregard of others, by their indifference, by their assumption that your value is negotiable simply because you have not asserted otherwise? This is not theory. This is the bedrock of how you are perceived. And you, watching this right now, possess the insight to change the blueprint. The window for conscious construction is open. Use it. You now understand the unspoken contract of value, how it dictates every interaction, every perceived gain or loss. But here is where the trap is set at its highest level. The very reality you perceive around you can be a carefully constructed fabrication. This is not just about someone lying to you. This is beyond mere deception. It is the art of manipulating your intelligence itself, diverting vast resources, your most precious resources, based on a meticulously crafted lie, a truth designed to become your reality, without you ever questioning its foundation. Think about that for a moment. What if the map you are using to navigate your life was drawn by someone else, with a hidden agenda? History proves this is not a hypothetical. The most cunning strategists operate not in plain sight, but deep within the shadows. They don't just tell small lies, they craft entire false narratives. Their goal is not just to win a skirmish, but to control the entire battlefield before a single shot is fired. Anxious? They manipulate the perception of reality itself, turning your own mind against you. Consider what happened during World War II with Operation Mincemeat. British intelligence executed a chilling masterstroke. They took a deceased vagrant, dressed him as a Royal Marines officer, planted meticulously forged invasion plans on his body. Then they allowed him to wash ashore in Spain, where they knew German intelligence would find him. The documents detailed an elaborate Allied invasion of Greece and Sardinia. German intelligence, ever vigilant, intercepted these plans. They studied them. They verified them against their own faulty assumptions. And they believed the lie. They were convinced the Allies planned to attack the Mediterranean's soft underbelly, specifically Greece and Sardinia. This forced Hitler's command to divert critical German resources. Entire divisions moved. Massive amounts of vital attention and military hardware were pulled away from the actual target, Sicily. The deception was absolute. It changed the course of the war. Do you grasp the terrifying implications for your own life? What you believe to be undeniably true can be a deliberate fabrication. It is designed. It is constructed. Its sole purpose is to make you misallocate your most precious resources, your attention, your energy, your respect. Every decision you make, every ounce of effort you expend, every conviction you hold, can be based on a ghost, a strategic illusion, an invisible cage of manufactured truth. They don't need to defeat you in a fair fight if they can make you fight the wrong war, on the wrong battlefield, with your back turned to the real threat. This is how masters of misdirection operate. They don't just fool you, they make you fool yourself. You have walked through the labyrinth. You have seen the strings pulled from the shadows. The game, once a blur of chaotic interactions, is now laid bare before you. Disgusted, the invisible taxes on your energy, the hidden traps set for your ambition, the subtle manipulations that once drained your spirit. You now recognize them all. This knowledge is not merely information, it is an irreversible shift in your perception. You understand the primal truth. How perceived weakness does not invite compassion, but aggression. How a false retreat, a feigned vulnerability, only lures predators closer. How the grand illusions, once capable of shattering entire armies, are now transparent constructs to your awakened sight. Your journey is no longer about fighting for respect. That is the path of the reactive, the endlessly embattled. Your path is about cultivating something far more potent, an unbreakable presence that commands respect by default. Consider this. Why do some figures move through the world untouched by insult, undisturbed by challenge? It is not their physical strength. It is not their loud declarations. It is the quiet power of absolute certainty in their own value, in their own perception. This unyielding self-knowledge is the ultimate shield against all forms of disrespect, against every attempt to diminish you. You are no longer a victim of unseen forces, tossed by the whims of others' agendas. That era is over. You are the architect of your own domain, the sovereign over your own reality. This is not a final destination. This is not the end of the journey. Determined. In fact, it is merely the silent, unyielding beginning of your true mastery. The world will test this presence. It will prod. It will challenge. It will attempt to find the cracks. But you now possess the map. You hold the blueprint. What you do with this profound understanding is now entirely up to you. Will you merely observe the game, or will you step onto the field, an unconquerable presence, and truly begin to play? The invisible forces have been revealed. The choice to wield your newfound sight, to sculpt your world, is now yours. This is your domain. Determined, claim it.